Hi there, welcome to this build blog of the Model L. It's a really nice design by Peter Fisher from 1973, and we're building this from a great set of plans which you can download from the AutoZone website, and if you have a look in the description below this video you'll find a link to those plans, and it's a free site. It's a fantastic resource for us modelers, particularly if we like building from really good plans like this. Now you can see we've got the construction of this finished, and I am really pleased with how it's looking. And in the last video I also got the servos in and had a look at the control surfaces, the movements of the control surfaces. Still need setting up on the transmitter, but they are moving really nice, and we've got the control rods in, and we can see the wing covered here. Now it's just worth saying that I covered the wing and the fuselage and tailplane in laminating film, 38 micron laminating film, and then I put on some silk, 100% silk, which I dyed with an acid dye. This is russet red and we've got teal. Now after I'd covered it, done the initial coat, I said at the end of the video, hopefully you've seen the previous video showing the sort of the development of this, but I said at the end of the covering video that you could see the laminating film underneath. There was kind of a mirrored effect from and a shine from the film that was showing through the silk. And I said, don't worry if you're doing this, because once you put on the second coat and third coat of polyurethane, really thin, because this is what we've been using on this, a polyurethane. Once you put that polyurethane on, that sheen, that mirrored effect where you can see the film through the silk will disappear. And just to prove a point there, you can see there's no sign that this has got laminating film underneath. It looks absolutely gorgeous, and I am really pleased with it. So the only thing that's left to do now is to get this pulled together and get it ready for the airfield. This is the last of the kind of the build update videos before the maiden flight. So the wings are done, there's no ailerons or anything like that, it's a vintage design. So we're going to be working on the fuselage, and we're going to get the engine in first probably, and then the radio equipment, and like I say, get this all ready, and we've got to get this to balance. We've put a servo down in the tail there, which you can see, and I didn't take that decision lightly. I'm very aware that it's a 3.7 gram servo, but I'm very aware that putting a servo down here could have quite a significant impact on the CG. But with this elevated tail, raised tail plane, whatever you want to call it, I didn't want to have a push-pull mechanism or a push rod showing on this turtle deck. I wanted the turtle deck to be nice and the fin just to look nice and kind of slick really. So I made that decision, but I've made provision for the battery to go way up front. I think this is going to balance good without adding any weight, because I really, if you've seen my builds before, I hate adding weight to a model, and don't unless I really have to. So anyway, I'm going to start to pull this together now. I've got this lovely diesel competition special that is going to go in the front. This is I think it's 1948 competition special, and I think this will power this absolutely lovely. It's quite a nice tight fit, and it's plenty of power, hopefully not too much power for this model. So, and just one other thing I've got before I get on with this, I've got two sets of wheels here. I've got some Cavan, I think they're called super light wheels, which are quite a nice design wheel, and I've got these radioactive wheels here, and or they're made by Radioactive, they're not actually radioactive, and these are two different weights. The wheels are going to stick out quite a way, and the wheels will probably be one of the last things I decide on, because do I put the heavyweight wheels on for a little bit of nose weight, or the lighter wheels? This is something I always do on a build, is think about the weight of the wheels and how that can either help me or hinder me, because look, you can see that there's not much further forward than these wheels. So anyway, let's get on and get this pulled together. Right, well, I've now got this all set up and I think it's right, and I say I think because I originally had the battery and the receiver back here, and I've got it all set up and finished. I put the wings on, I balanced it, and it was very slightly, only very slightly tail heavy. So what I've done is I've moved the battery and the receiver to this position, so more or less on the CG, and I'm hoping that that is going to be right, and we'll have a quick look at that in a second. And I've got the transmitter set up now. We've got a switch on the side here, which again I'll show you in a second, and you can see we've got the control surfaces there, and I've got those set up on dual rates, so it's good to get that done. And dual rates I think is really important, because at the end of the day we don't know whether this is going to be overly sensitive, not sensitive enough. So if we've got a choice between two sets of rates, we're kind of hopefully making it easier for ourselves. But anyway, let's have a look inside here and I'll show you what I hope is the final setup. Okay, so you can see the bay in the back here. Actually, I just need to hot glue these aerials onto the sides there at 90 degrees to each other. That's the only thing I've got left to do. But this is the bay where I had the battery and the receiver, like I said, just back of the CG. But now I'm hoping that's okay there. I've got the battery buried in the foam. The foam there gives a little bit of insulation for the receiver. Now I've got the switch here, and I've just got a bit of wire to push that on and off. So there we go, like that. And I always have it pushed in to switch it off. To switch it on, and I pull it out to switch it off. Now, I'm sure there are people out there who have different views. That's just my opinion, just how I feel comfortable, and that's how I set up all my sort of vintage models. And I've got the wire because there's going to be a lot of oil from this engine. There we go, we can see the 2cc competition special ED there, and it's going to chuck a lot of oil back, and if I've got the switch on the outside, the oil could affect the switch. So this hopefully will keep the switch nice and isolated. And we can see that servo there just moving, which is operating the rudder. And we've looked at this before, but the servo for the tail, don't know how this is going to look on camera. Oh, it'll be okay, I think. Servo for the elevator. Sorry, not the rudder, the elevator is there. And I think that was a good decision to put that way down in the tail, because I think this is going to balance now and we're not paying a penalty for that servo down there. It just gave a lot cleaner lines on the fuselage. Now if I hadn't put that servo in the tail, then I would have had to have some push-pull cables probably coming out and down here, and I just wanted to keep this turtle deck and back end as clean as possible, as sleek looking as possible. So yeah, I don't think we've paid a penalty for that, because with the weight down here, I mean, putting a servo there does make a big difference because we've got quite a long distance from the CG. But the nose is a decent size, it's a good weight engine, so hopefully it's going to be okay. So what I'm going to do now is put the wings on, and we'll see how this balances, and we'll have a look at the final weight, which I'm really interested to see, because on the plans it says, I think it says 26 ounces, which I think is about 700 or something like that grams. So, but anyway, I'll get the wings on and then we'll have a look. Okay, so I've got the wings on, got my balance ready. Now the CG for this is 22 millimeters behind the main spar, so it's a good distance back, and if I just line my fingers up with that, and there, that's more or less, I think that is about right. And to me, that looks really nice. So I'm quite pleased with that. I mean, we may end up altering the CG once we've flown it and seen how it glides, but I think as a starting point that looks really nice, and we've got plenty of scope in this to either add a little bit of weight to the tail or the nose. I made it so you could get, if you wanted, the battery or lead right at the front here, but if I was going to alter it, I've got the battery to move as well, which is perhaps a better option if possible. Now, interesting, let's see how much it weighs. So I've got my scales, put these on a harder surface, and the way I do this is I zero the scales with a kitchen roll on, nice new one, so it's big and fat. Just make sure I've got 0. Put my glasses on so I can see it properly, and then we'll just balance the model on there. Now that is giving me 702 grams. So I am really pleased with that. That's a good weight, I think, for this model. Now on the plans, I had a quick look before I did this bit of filming, and on the plans the target weight is 26 ounces, which is 737 grams. So this is what, 35 grams, over an ounce lighter, so that is really good. And the target weight on the plans gives a wing loading of 11.3 ounces per square foot. So the wing loading on this is going to be about 11 ounces per square foot, which is really good, and certainly in line with all the other vintage models that I've built, like my Diamond Demon and my Quaker, Mini Quaker, and the oh gosh, I'm forgetting now, my brain's gone, and my Tomboy Senior. There we go. So that wasn't too difficult, was it? So at the end of the day, I think this should fly lovely. The weight's right, it looks nice, it's balanced right, but there's only one thing we've got to do now, and that's we've got to get this to the airfield. Make sure the engine runs nice. As I said, it's an ED competition special 2cc, so it's going to have plenty of power for this. We might even need to dial it back. I've run this engine before on a 10x6 prop. I've put a 9x7 on now because I wanted to get just that extra little bit of ground clearance here, so I'm not trimming the grass too much. I mean, when this comes into land, the engine's going to be stopped, so that's not going to be a problem, but it might be just trimming the grass when I start it. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed seeing this kind of build blog of this. I know it hasn't been a detailed build series, more an update as we go, but rest assured we'll be having the maiden flight as soon as we get some good weather, and hopefully this thing flies really sweet. But please come back and see how we get on with that. Thanks very much for watching.